Again, going on now to P3, P4, and P5, we're looking at the application process. These past tasks are designed for those looking for work in the health and social care and childcare sectors. And it's important to you in where you go forward to take some of these things on board, because having someone who's rather longer in the teeth and had to go through the application process quite a number of times, I can tell you it's very important to finding work. And I should add that as someone who used to vet, put forward and interview people for positions within organisations, I feel the process needs to be broken down and understood. Too often there is a mistake in understanding. Applications, applying for work, are about matching the needs of an employer to the attributes and skills of someone who wants work. I think this is what needs to be bared in mind when you go through the process, because it's going to be important to you to understand that there is, if you like, a human outcome to the pen and paper work that you are engaging in. An application form, or the way in which you apply for a job, can take different guises. But it's worth remembering what the goal is. It's matching the job to the individual. So it may be that you're asked to fill out a rather lengthy application form with details of your abilities, where you live, whether you've got a driving test, whether you know what you have done, answering a series of technical questions to find out. But in these application forms, there is always a section for your personal statement, which gives you a chance to talk about yourself. It may be that you're asked to write a covering letter and send in a CV. Essentially, the two things mean the same thing, because within your personal statement or within your CV, you need to demonstrate that you have the skills and abilities and qualifications needed to take part in the job, to do the job successfully. So the first element really is understanding what you're applying for. Someone who used to read CVs, read application forms and vet them, the first that would be put in the bin were those are not demonstrating an understanding of what it is, the role and the responsibility that they are applying for. This comes from the idea that you just shoot off your CVs, having done a generic CV, and just stick a covering letter on it. That, I'm not saying it never works, because it depends on the need of an employer, but it is less likely to work. You are less likely to get that job that you really want unless there is some consideration here to the process. Someone's going to pick up this application form amongst others, other application forms at the other end, and they will make a decision on who to shortlist to interview from that pile they have according to the applications they receive. So it's worth remembering that someone's reading this, that there is a process and there is a reason for going through this. So there are 3 units here. The first is looking at, well, really it should be a job or jobs, in fact, that you would be interested in applying for. So it asks you to select these 2 jobs, write down a detailed description of what the job requires. The second part is looking at responding to that. What do you need? What does that job need? What looking at the hard elements of this. So it looks at what the job requires. Okay, so it will first look at the qualifications. So this is P4. It asks you to describe, for each of the roles that you have just looked at, what qualifications you have, not just in terms of whether you've got GCSEs or BTECs or what have you in terms of that, whether you've got your GCSE English, whether you've got your GCSE Maths. These things will be a requirement, a minimum requirement. These are written down and you need to be able to demonstrate them if you like to get past the first post. These will also include things like hygiene certificates, professional development, kind of any other thing you can throw in the bag, as it were, to say that you have something written down, a qualification, something hard that you see. And this will normally, you look through this as if you're looking through a CV or you're looking through an application to see whether the minimum requirements are met to do the job. The matching, you first take all those that meet the minimum requirements, and then you look at the matching in terms of, are these the right people for the job? The first part of this matching process is looking at personal experience. Now, personal experience is not as straightforward as writing you have a GCSE or a BTEC. It's about looking at what the job requires from the job specification of the application form or whatever the job description is, and looking at your experience in the workplace ideally, but outside the workplace if needs be, to demonstrate that you have these skills. Things like good communication skills, good leadership skills, good management skills, these kinds of things, these things that the person reading it will want to know if you're going to fit in to the team that you're applying to work in. So you need to demonstrate by saying not only, yes, you've got that skill, but also in what context and why you would say you have that skill. So it's very important to understand what skills are needed for what kinds of jobs that you're going for, and have a kind of introspective, have a look at your own life and what you can bring and what positive outcomes are there. So these are quite something that you need. And as I say, so the P4 task looks at you describing what these are for the two job roles that you have selected. The last part, which is about attributes, values, and so on, is, it's going by stages. The first one is the concrete examples of the qualifications you have, right? They're straightforward. You either have them, you haven't got them. You need to put them down, or perhaps ideally you could say you're working towards them if you haven't got them. The second part is talking about your personal experience. What would justify you saying, and you'll have to say that you have interpersonal skills, the team building skills, the communication skills, and so on, that are necessary for the role. And again, look at that description in the role. This last section is rather personal, and sometimes applicants or candidates can feel a little awkward in putting these things together. It's about your values, why you as a person are suited to work in what is a very demanding sector, and one which requires a great deal of empathy, this is my image here, as well as caring skills, listening skills, the ability to work in a team, but also to have the right ethos about the right approach to the sector. And this is again where you demonstrate an understanding of the kind of sector and role that you're looking to do. So obviously it's very important that you have a look at these two job roles that you've selected and work through what these value-based attributes are and write a detailed plan. But the point being is it's part of this matching exercise. When someone picks up your application form, when someone picks up your CV, what they're looking for is the person behind it. What they're looking for is a candidate, someone they can work with. So it's very important that you get these things right. Okay, so the materials in this section are limited because it is about you going out and finding an actual application, a job that you would be interested in, going through the process as though you are going to apply, look at the job specification sheet. That's where you're going to get the description. From that, you need to then take research and go, what are the roles? What does the roles qualifications inquire? What does the roles skills require? And what does the roles attributes or personal ethos or working towards require for this job? It's in demonstrating these things successfully and showing that you are an ideal match for the job you're applying for, that will help you get interviews and help you get work. Okay, thank you guys.